So let's start with the privacy management demo. First, before we start, we should know a little bit about the background. So if you see on the slide, we have our CMDB, which is fetching information about business processes, applications, suppliers, and information objects. And we have privacy management module. So let's go to the slide. If you see here, the first tab is inventory the business processes and applications. Now let's go to our instance. Just a second. Just give me 1 minute. Yes. So let's first go to our first step, that is business processes. So we have different business processes, and against these business processes, we can be creating a entity in our ServiceNow. So this is the first step. Now, so from the first step, we can create entities, and then we can do a send privacy screening privacy assessment, followed by creating or updating processing activity. So let's take one step back. Let me take one business process as online order. So so in online order, we can see we already have some information objects present. So if I go back to your ServiceNow, and if I take any application, let's say this application. So what I can do is like I can directly use a ServiceNow predefined filter. Yeah, like something like this. A table name I can define, followed by information object. Sorry, this is not a good example. I'll take one more example. Yeah. So here, if you see, we have a table and we have information objects. So what it will do, it will directly create entities. So going back to the presentation, if you see, we have uh, bypassed this step. So from this create entities, we don't need to do this send privacy assessment, and we can directly create a processing activity because we already have that information present in the business processes about the information objects. Now, what is the case in case we don't have a information object details present in our CMDB? In that case, what we can do, we can go back to the we can go back to our business applications. We already have some entities created. So we have an option. We can select any of the entities. We can do some filtering. If you want to send some, we have to send some privacy assessments. So we have an option. We can directly send to all the to the selected entities, something like that. Or if we want, and it will be going to the owner. Or the other option is like if you want to send it separately to a single entity, that also is possible. So we can open any entity, and we have an option to initiate a privacy assessment. So this is the first assessment. We can come here, we can fill up the details. Initial assessment. And the requester we can give. So followed by the assignee. This will be the entity owner. And we can give the due date. And we can save it. So what it will do is like it will trigger assessment. For this demo purpose, I already have a triggered assessment. So let me go impersonate that user and show you. So I'm impersonating the business owner. 1 second. Yeah. And if I go to the employee service center, then under my uh, yeah, under my GRC tasks, I can open the flow. Yeah. So I can see privacy assessments. I can go there. I need to, so this will be in the privacy task table. I can go there and accept the work. Okay. As soon as I do that, there will be a privacy assessment which will be created. So now if you see, there will be a UI action, take assessment. Yeah. And you can see a assessment triggered for this user, and we can get started. Now there will be some questions which we have configured as part of this assessment, which business user can answer, like a description about the process, some uh, yeah, some relevant info. Then we can have some business unit for which this application is applicable. Let's take an example of IT. Then department we can select. Let's say anything, we can take any random value for time being. Now, this is the critical question. Does this process involve personal data? So based on this answer, we will be creating a processing activity. So the backend logic is configured like that. So let's say we select a yes. Then the questions related to personal data will be asked, like a data storage type. We can give any random questions, or let's skip for time being. Yeah. And let's submit the assessment. So now we have submitted the assessment, and it's in the review state. Now the same assessment will be, we can see in the, let me go back to privacy assessor. Let me go from here, privacy assessments. Yeah. Yeah. So let's open this assessment. Now the privacy analyst has the option that he can send it back to the business owner if he needs some information. or he has an option that he can he can check the details if everything is fine as it should be, and he can update the state. Let's say if we accept the state, let's say he update the state as close complete. So yeah, so now the assessment is completed, and we can see a processing activity being created as HR self-service. And also we can see some other things like control objectives and information object. So let's first open a processing activity. So we have a processing activity where we can see all the information, and based on the assessment, the relevant information will be mapped here. So the privacy analyst can come here and he can assign his name. Let's say I'm taking Apple Twitter here. Also, yeah, also other things like information objects will be coming directly from the assessment. So we have some questions answered, and based on that, the information object will be directly mapped to the processing activity. And we also have controls which are coming up. So I'll show you briefly how the controls are mapped, and how we can add more controls also. So let me show you. So we have if we go back to your screen, this metric definition type, right? So here, if you see, yeah. So we have metric definition here, where we have defined the information object details. So let's say for this one, we can see the information object, and also we can even define the control objective in this statement. And if anything is defined, that will be directly coming here, tag to the processing activity. So yeah, so these are the controls, and we can these controls can be sent for attestation to the respective owner, and we can even add more controls. And once the controls are attested, so the compliance score of the processing activity will be calculated. Yeah, and also we can see one more thing. We have this details like processing activity in new discover. So yeah, so once the processing activity moves to monitor, then we have the indicators which we can use to manually monitor the processing activity. So it can create a controls at a regular interval, and this can be used to monitor the processing activity on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, that's all about.